It's really, really bad in America. It's just not fair. It's just not fair, I tell you. How dare you, Josh? How dare you? You must be privileged. Let's look at some bot comments, I guess. Funny, actually. You'll get a kick out of this. So check this. Here's the video I did. I'm sick of Richmond, north of Virginia, north of Richmond, whatever it's called. I only got 4,000 views, but I want to share with you a couple comments here. It's pretty funny because a lot of bots came out. Watch. That's not a bot. I like him. He just says, you're off base. Don't blow it. You work hard. You've been fortunate. Not so much for a lot of people. This is about government overreach and control. Nothing more, nothing less. I said, you're fortunate too. You live in the United States. You're fortunate. Check this out. This guy, right? Barry Behrman. He's all over the comments. All over. He says, I'm willfully oblivious. My next step is to become a plantation foreman. But I've never heard of Barry Behrman 3511. Talk about now. Jill's not a bot. Jill disagrees with me. This okay? That's fine. Carl's not a bot, but this guy's a bot right here. Check this out too. Here he is again. Barry, willfully oblivious. I've had it good for too long. And then he goes right here. This is Barry Behrman, aka Botman. I suggest you spend 10 to 16 hours a week at a homeless or food pantry talking to people. You are wrong not to try to understand the underlying pain and how much crap is hitting the lower 50%. Choosing oblivious on your part is egotistical. You're not connected with a lot of fellow humans. And I said, thanks for proving my point that the guy wasn't taxed to death. Let's keep going here. And Prairie Mark, he and I have had many disagreements and many agreements. We have different opinions on things. Shocking that. Anyway, he says, I remember Paul Harvey hated the song Take This Job and Shove It, but Johnny Paycheck has some point too. Yep. And here's my man Johnny. And Johnny's a good guy. He disagrees with me immensely on this because I still trust your advice, which is not your taste in music. Well, I do love metal and hardcore. Let's see here. There's Barry Beam again. That is the point. $14.50 an hour, $2,500 a month, neglecting taxes. I said, where? My daughter, and I don't even know why I bothered responding to bots, but it's funny. My daughter just got a job offering working at a Greek restaurant for $14.50 an hour with tips. Oh, and she's 19 and in college. So, come on. I tell you, I was talking to this guy today earlier, and I got more to share with you here. So hang tight, because we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna go back in history. I was talking to this guy today. And he's just crushing. And he graduated high school just barely, but he's just let's just say he's just crushing. You know what I'm saying? He said, I did get some luck, but I created my luck. I created my luck because I was there at the right time, at the right place, because I freaking worked my ass off. Didn't have a dad growing up, you know what I'm saying? Didn't have anyone. It was just me. Had to take care of myself, and I took care of myself, and now here I am. And it's just kind of funny because we have a lot of similarities in terms of the way we grew up. And I was like, it's just, you create your own luck. Yeah, you have fortune. I was fortunate because I created my luck. In 2000, just as a reminder, my friends, in 2007 or 8, I can't remember, one of those years, 2008. Yeah, I think it's 2008. I only made $32,000. 4 kids, $32,000, dude. 32,000 schmackaroonies in 2008. That's 15 years ago. $32,000. We'll even say it doubled in time. Let's say it's 70,000 today. It's not, but let's just say it is. You know what I'm saying? We didn't get welfare checks. We didn't get anything. So I laugh. All right, let's keep going here. We got, I can't eat a laptop. I was like, dude, oh my goodness. I said, you can't eat a laptop. Do you even hear yourself? The point is the laptop and other sources of technology we have allow you to create income streams that there was no way you could think about just freaking 20 years ago. It's insane. I can't eat a laptop. Like, you can use, it's a freaking MacBook Air. I was probably 10 years old. I think I paid $200 for it, dude. I've been using this literally for the last 4 years on my YouTube channel. I think it's in 2016. Still crushing. So here's Josh is out of touch and ignorant. Ignorant means you don't know. Ignorance can be fixed, but you'd have to want to. At least you acknowledge that. Here's Panama. Here he is. Let's look for this guy. This kind of reinforces the idea that if you're within a certain economic class of society, you can't find common ground with an economic class as opposed to you. This video is proof of that. Oh, my goodness. Where's that other Panama guy? I never seen this right here. That's because this song actually offenses my sensibilities. He realizes he's privileged and the song encroaches on his entitlement. The only reason why anyone would really dislike this song, Panama has never been around here, these parts before, ever. Then this guy, Johnny, I think Johnny Reno has been about, maybe not, because he says, was this a financial channel or a soapbox? I said you're new here. Oh my goodness. Let's see here. Yeah, both sides do get triggered 100%. The right wing gets just as triggered as the left. And there's my man Johnny Adams. He keeps, but I know he's not a bot because he's been around for a long time. And I said right here, my man Johnny Adams says, "Hey Josh, I'm not a bother." He meant to say bot. "You have my number someplace because I'm a client. I know it's said tongue in cheek, but really when the majority of people see," and I said, I didn't say everyone's a bot. I said I wonder if the majority are, not just the people who disagree, but how would we know? Here, right here, Panama again. It's always amazing. How the very privileged or lucky always seems to look down on those who don't have the same opportunities. Okay, so anyway, Panama's a bot. I've never heard him before, but anything like that. So I want to share with you, though, the most important comment from this. This is my man here. This is a comment for the ages here. All right, so we're going to read my man's comment right here. Actually, before I do, I want to share with you something here. All right, hold on tight. My wife's house when she grew up. All right, my wife is 4 years younger than me, which would put her at 49. 11 people lived in that house. 11 people lived in that house right there. Yes, sir. No central air conditioning. One car. You can see no garage. And that's in Virginia, by the way, right outside Washington, D.C., in Woodbridge area. That's her house right there. All right. I just want to point that out. All right. So I want to point that out. That's where she lived. That's where she grew up right there. All right. Oh, by the way, if we turn, we can see a part was the basketball courts, the swim area right there. All right. The fire station right down there. All right. Bunch of townhouses right over here. Bunch of townhouses behind her. 11 people lived in that house. 11 people, no air conditioning. She shared a bedroom with two other of her sisters, and sometimes she'd have to deal with cat peeing on her clothes. It is 1,044 square foot because you can't use the basement. So there's a basement, small, but a basement because you can't use you can't use the basement square footage. Last sold for $300,000 in 2017. Let's see what else they say is sold. They think it sells for $406 right now. I don't know if that'd be worth $107,000 more than it was in 2000. But my mom, when my wife's mom died, she sold it for $186,000. And I don't know if they're gonna show it on here. Sales history, yeah, right here. See all sales history right here. Sold it for like $186,000. It sold for $273,000 in 2015. Let's see, $191 in 2015. So 2007 we sold it right there, $225. All right, so let's look at that. Let's look at this comment right here, by the way, because this guy crushes. Mike Del Caribe. Look at this guy. He's freaking. I'm gonna read this. Josh, you're right about the way we used to be willing to make the sacrifices in order to make our lives better. Just this week, I was looking at an interview my dad had given one of the elders in the community. Back in 1916, near the start of the Great Migration, you should learn if you're not familiar with that, his mother, father, and two older, this would be Mike's grandparents. Mike's grandparents and two older siblings made the move from rural North Carolina to suburb north of Boston. Being from a rural area, they knew farming and how to work with animals, but my grandfather also learned new skills such as cement work and setting curbstones. Here's an excerpt from that interview. My father had a job waiting for him when he came here. And again, this is Mike's dad, all right? Was it Mike's dad or Mike's grandfather? Yeah, Mike's grandfather. Wait, is it my father, grandfather? Yes, this is grandfather, all right. So this is Mike's dad talk about his grandfather. So this is Mike's dad doing the interview talk about his own dad. Anyway, my father had a job waiting for him when he came here. He became a laborer for the city of Medford, Massachusetts. My mother had a cousin named Mark Stamper. I actually know a white guy named Mark Stamper, so I kind of chuckled at that. My mother had a cousin named Mark Stamper already living here who got this job for my father so they could come. Mark had also worked for the city, and he was killed just about a year after my parents arrived. He was working the quarry where the present high school is when they struck dynamite and some of the workers died. My father was good at driving horses, and he worked for the highway department. One of the jobs he did was picking up trash with an open team in a small dump wagon. They would take the garbage and dump it where South Medford is now. Then they'd come back and continue along their route. They had to make many trips back and forth, but this was a great job for him because he'd make about 13 or 14 bucks a week. In North Carolina, he'd be making $6 a week. He had a wife and two children, and he could do better in Medford. There's a big jump in pay. So my parents settled there and soon had two more children, including me. And again, this is Mike's dad. And by the time I was born in 1920, we were living on Lincoln Street. My father kept the same job as the rest of his life, but he expanded to other kinds of work for the highway department. He became an edgestone setter and a cement finisher. They started doing away with the horses. They were using truck drivers, but he was making more money building streets and setting up curbstones. In North Carolina, my mom had worked in a service as a cook for a white family before she was married. Then she and my father ran a Greasy Spoon, a restaurant in Henderson, North Carolina. The restaurant was for blacks only, of course, since no restaurant served both blacks and whites. And my father also had a job as a teamster for a man who owned a warehouse. So they had his $6 a week and whatever they're making from the restaurant. But my mother had decided that we were going to leave the South. Even if they were making a fortune, she was determined to go. So I guess one day she said, "We're leaving." Because my mother was the boss of the family, as in the Southern tradition. She was the one who had to stretch the money and pay the bills. She was in charge of the home front. When she spoke, everyone took notice, us children and my father. As children, we wouldn't dare say no to our mother when she told us something. The word no wasn't in her vocabulary. Her name was Annabelle, and she was called Belle. She became part of this community. She belonged to the Daffodil Club and the Lend a Hand Club. She and my father were country people. They went to church picnics, the big Salem Willows picnic every summer, and the country fairs in places like Topsfield and Brockton. They liked to look over the livestock at the fairs, even though there wasn't a part of their lives in Medford. But see, North Carolina, they had grown up with animals. On the other hand, even here in Medford, throughout the time I was growing up, we kept chickens. Lots of people had chickens. So we all had fresh eggs and fresh chicken. I don't think I could eat chickens now. It tastes so different. All the freaking antibiotics and crap. Also, my father rented a lot of land on Lincoln Street that was 2 doors down from the house he grew up in, so we could have a house where we were, so we could have a big vegetable garden. Because it was in his blood that he was a farmer. He grew tomatoes, cabbages, all kinds of stuff. Then my mother's job was to can and preserve it. See, all the women did that then. We had a place in the basement set up for canning. And she would have 50 quarts of this and 75 quarts of that. She had shelves and shelves of jelly, all kinds. She made every kind of pie and cobbler you could think of. We had peach trees, cherry trees, and apple trees. If you didn't have those trees yourself, you bought from the fruit from the man that came around the horse and team, and you bought them by the bushels. At that time, we had many people who came door to door with a horse and team delivering goods. There was a bakery coming around with the bread and cakes and other baked goods. There was a vegetable man, a fish man, and an ice man. Then, of course, we also had stores, but no such thing as a supermarket. The closest thing to a supermarket was called the Big Bear, is where the U-Haul is now. But we had an AP and a First National right here in the neighborhood. By the time I was 10 years old, the Depression hit, but it didn't really make any difference to us. Sounds like the Song of the South by Alabama. We had always been poor. We never quite had enough money, but my father kept his job throughout, so there was always meat on the table. We had a meager amount of clothes, but it was the same for everyone. You had one good set of clothes for school, basically, but you'd have a few pairs for one good set of clothes for school, basically, but you'd have a few pairs of corduroy pants. And you could hear us coming down the school corridors a mile away in those corduroy pants because they rubbed together. Dude, I remember that like it was yesterday, the swishing. I think corduroys were poor boy pants. And my wife, were talking about that. She said, went around when she was like in 20 or something like that, I guess 18, 19, I think corduroys came in style. So they became not so cheap anymore. But I think because we had corduroys too. We had one set of school, one good set of clothes for school. It's obviously not just a white or black thing because I lived in Maine. Maybe it's a northern thing. I don't know. I'm sure it's the same thing in the South actually. Isn't that crazy? That's what I had. One good set of clothes for school. Corduroys. I remember it's like this yesterday. I just talked to Charlotte about that today. It's great. Then when you came home, you changed into dungarees. You had to save your good clothes. It was the same for adults. A grown man had one suit. He had one good suit. He had his work clothes, of course, but if he had to go to a wedding or a funeral, he put on his one good blue suede suit. And every other man was wearing the same thing. But after you wore a blue suede suit long enough, it began to shine. There was nothing you could do to offset that. You just kept that suit on as long as you could, probably more than a dozen years. And if you had a funeral with a shiny suit, well, there are sure to be several other men in the same predicament. It was the same, I want to say right here. Hold on a second, check this out. All right, so he talks about this guy, Oscar. I'm not sure who Oscar was, but Oscar, from an interview with another elder in the community, Oscar is self-analytical, self-critical, and always open to change. He also knows when the decisions are easy and obvious and very much and when they are very much harder. All right. So this is great though. He talks about how his son did not do great in high school, but he went to Newman Prep for a year. He got to Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and he made the dean's list and he went to dental school. In 1977, he moved to Derry, New Hampshire to go into private dental practice. There had never been a black professional, and his father was completely against the move. My son got very angry with me. He said, Dad, I'm surprised you're so prejudiced. Oscar Sr. couldn't stop his son from going, even though he pictured Derry about as welcoming as Williamstown, Mass. I'm not sure what that is, but Time magazine was every bit as sure as Oscar Sr. that Derry was not ready for a black dentist. Writers from the magazine were assigned to track the past of a black dentist entering private practice in a town in Mississippi and in Derry's and Oscar Jr.'s practice in Derry, New Hampshire. The hypothesis was that it would work in Mississippi, but it would not work in New Hampshire. But Time magazine and Oscar Sr. were wrong. They killed the story because Oscar was accepted. But check this out. This is crazy. This is my man Mike here. One part I always find memorable was father comparing how his life versus how he thought others lived. This is his dad. Just about everyone was poor. I thought I was really poor because I had to sleep in the same bed with my brother. I imagine all those white kids had their own rooms. But I was shocked when I learned that many of them slept 3 to a bed. The lesson with Freya was not to waste my energy comparing my life to others and just do the best that I could. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. Dude. All right, let me check this out. This is Run DMC. It's like that. Remember Run DMC? All right, right here. I want to show you something right here. If you really think about it, times aren't all that bad. The ones that stretches for success will make you glad. Stop playing, start praying, and you won't be so sad because it's like that, huh? And it's the way that it is. Right here, but he says, you should have gone to school. You could have learned a trade, but you laid in the bed where the bums have laid. Now all the time you're crying that you're underpaid. It's like that, huh? And that's the way it is. 100% right here. And they say it goes, bills rise higher every day. We receive so much lower pay. I'd rather stay young, go out and play. No, right here. Money is the key to end all your woes. Your ups, your downs, your highs and your lows. Won't you tell me the last time that love bought you clothes? It's like that, huh? And that's the way it is. Ugh. Yeah, I just love that. He says, you should have gone to school to learn a trade, but you laid in the bed where the bums have laid. Now all the time you're crying that you're underpaid. Anyway, I don't know. You got to do what you got. I'll just show you something else here. Read my book, Relax and Retire. I just wonder how many people griping have ever been on an airplane in the last, just say year. Because you'll notice that you could not afford to take an airplane back in the day. You literally couldn't. I took one plane in my life until I was, 18 years old when I went in the Army. One plane. And that was the only reason I took that plane is my granddad bought the tickets for us to go visit him in California because he was a pilot in the Navy and he was retired from the Navy. So right here, all right, 1941, it's going to be hard to see. But in terms of prices, look at the difference. A lot more expensive in 1941 to fly. Refrigerator. See if I got another picture in here. I like to use the phone. See if I get, right here. Residential phones. 10-minute call. I give a story how I just look, dude. You can do whatever. You can. I don't care. If you want to gripe, that's fine. I don't care. I'm not being mad at you. I just I find it interesting that we've forgotten how much we have at our disposal now. And just here, basic phone lines. Cost. What does that say on this? It costs to make a call, a long distance call. They say to divide it up to 5-mile call, 200-mile call, or 2450-mile call. And the cost in the chart below, you can see the cost over $10 in today's dollars for one 10-minute call over basically 2,400-mile distance in 1977. When's the last time you had to worry about the expense of a long distance call? Yeah, you don't, man. Does that mean it's perfect? Well, freaking, dude, wheat, look at the wheat yield through the roof. It's nuts, man. This is such a good book. I still love this book. Oh, by the way, and you're gonna have a hard time seeing it. Those are coal miners going down the coal mine. Coal miners. All right, going down there. Look at this guy. He's got blackface. How dare he? That's racist. They should never publish this. That's racist. He got blackface. I don't know, man. I think I think people. If I can show you my, I think I got it here someplace. Hold on a second. I don't like whining. I think everyone, you can whine. You should. I got no problem. You got to blow off some steam. I raised my dad, my brother, and me lived on the first floor of this place right here. All right. The vast majority of people did not own a home not that long ago. And 2 generations ago. Now 2/3 of the people own a home. Huge amounts of equity in their homes. And are some people suffering? Always. It's kind of the same thing. I can't retire because long-term care. How many people actually go into long-term care facilities? Not very many. No, you got to do what you got to do. I'm not saying I'm not empathetic, but sorry, you're a young white guy. There's nothing holding you back, dude. Nothing holding you back. I talk to people every day. Oh, it must be nice. I talk to people every day. And there's so many people. I just talked to these guys earlier today from Pennsylvania, and just, high school sweethearts. They're just, I just love it. I love people who they met each other in high school, been married 35 years, got 2 kids that are crushing. I think they got 3 grandkids right now, hopefully a whole bunch more. And they both worked in jobs that were stressful. And here they are, mid-60s. They're just ready to crush. Let's say prayers. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Dear Heavenly Father, I just pray for patience for those who are down on their luck. I pray for empathy for those. I just, for me, good Lord, I'm so grateful for the abundance that you've shared throughout this world. And I'm not just blessed because we have money. We're blessed because Jesus died for us all. All of us, regardless of those who have money or not. But I look back, dear Lord, on what we had before and what we have now, and I just can't help but be just amazed by the abundance that awaits anybody who wants it. Anybody. And I wish, Lord, that other people could see the massive amount of abundance. Because when you're focused on building things, you're not focused on griping. You're not focused on hate. You're focused on just being glorifying in the Lord in all you do. And I just pray in Jesus' name, amen. All right. Look, you can unsubscribe. That's fine. I don't care. It doesn't bother me if you unsubscribe. Look, you think I'm ever going to get 500,000 subscribers? I never will, man. I've been doing this for 6 years now. I'm still at, less than 80,000. I think I get 300 to 400 new subscribers a month. It's never going to be much more than that. You know what I'm saying? There's a couple times there I get a couple thousand in 1 month, but I'm on YouTube's. They're not restricted list, but I'm not shadow banned per se, but I'm certainly not promoted. Like, what's that guy? Freaking Samson, no, what the hell is that place called? Sarasota Tim or whatever that guy's name was. Why is that guy showing up on my YouTube channel? I haven't watched his videos. I got no animosity towards the guy, but YouTube promotes what they want to promote. I don't know why. But I just find it funny, man. All right, love your thoughts. We'll see you.